my name is Annette and you may know me as Nettersplays, and today I'm going to go over my acquisitions and impressions for the month of December. So I'll go over the games that I didn't get to play and the games that I did get to play and kind of cover my first impressions of them. So let's get to it. So the first games that I acquired but I haven't yet played are the new Exit series games. There is the Forbidden Castle, the Forgotten Island, and the Polar Station. So I haven't yet played these three games, but I have played the previous three Exit series games, and I absolutely love them. So I'm waiting to play these on my birthday with my friends and try to go over those games with them and experience what I experienced back then with the old games too. So I'm really looking forward to this new series in the Exit series games. So the next game that I'm looking forward to playing but have not yet played is called Wendake Dungeon, The Forest of Shadows. Now this is the new expansion to the previous game of Wendake Dungeon. It's an all-female cast of characters that go dungeon diving, and they defeat all these different monsters, not in a dungeon this time, but in the forest. So this is a dice rolling game, and I really like this game because it's either a solo game or a two-player game, and I really like playing this with my partner because we really get into the theme of it all. And it's also really short, so by the time we're kind of done and over with the theme of it all, we're done with the game. So it's a really hard game to defeat, so I'm really looking forward to playing this game and trying to fight those bosses at the end. So the next game was actually given to me by Tasty Minstrel Games, and that is Harvest. Now Harvest is a worker placement game, but the cool thing about this game is that it has initiative cards. These cards that tell you when you can go, whether you'll be first or last. And what you're doing is you're pretty much bidding on which place you will take. So it's all based on card play, and based upon the cards that you play or your opponents play, you never really know when you're going to go and take these placements on the board to become the best farmer. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out since I like worker placement, and those initiative cards kind of throw in a little twist to the game. So I'm really looking forward to trying this game out. So this next game was also gifted to me by Tasty Minstrel, and that is Exodus Fleet. Now I first heard about this game from HateyCon, and this was a small convention in San Francisco. I actually got to meet the designer. And I saw a couple of people playing it, but I didn't get the chance to play it. And what intrigued me was the fact that it's a space game. I really love space games. I really love the exploration of space, building these fleets or these spaceships and going off and exploring the unknown. So I really like that fact, and this is what this game has. What you're basically doing is you're playing a bidding game. You're bidding on certain things that you can do along with other players. And if you bid the most, then you will get to take the most of a certain action. Now, I haven't gotten to play this game, so I'm really looking forward to trying to see how the bidding aspect works. But I know I'm going to probably like it because it's already a space-themed game. So this next game was also gifted to me by Renegade Games, and that is Pie Town. Now, Pie Town, I'm really looking forward to playing this one, simply because the theme is being the best baker in all the land. And what you're trying to do is bake pies. The cool thing about this game is that you have little boxes where you put in your secret ingredients. And what you're trying to do is deduce what other players' secret ingredients are and try to throw them off by making different types of pies so they don't guess your secret ingredients. So I really like the theme of it all. I have yet to play it, but the game itself is super cute. The component quality is great, and I'm really looking forward to trying this out with more players. So this next game was actually gifted to me by my Secret Santa on BGG, and my gifter actually got me several different games, but this one I have yet to play, but I'm really looking forward to it because it's from my favorite game designer, Stefan Feld. And that game is In the Year of the Dragon. Now, from what I've heard about this game is that it's super mean. It's a very mean game. I don't necessarily know what people mean by that because I've played other mean games, but they're not that bad. So I'm looking forward to see how this is played. The game component quality could be better, but I'm kind of glad that this is actually the 10-year anniversary box. So it also has the expansions in there too. And it's not much of a big box game, but it's also like other Stefan Feld games like Macau. It's all about the gameplay and how it interacts with players that I really enjoy. So I'm really looking forward to playing in the Year of the Dragon. So this next game I actually won in a contest, and that is 51st State, the complete master set. Now this game is actually based off of Imperial Settlers, and before that Imperial Settlers was based off of the first edition of 51st State. So it plays just like Imperial Settlers, but it's placed in a different universe, and it's more of a apocalypse type of universe. And so it seems like it's a lot less cuter than Imperial Settlers, but it's also still an engine building card game. And I really enjoy Imperial Settlers, so I'm really looking forward to playing 51st State. I don't know exactly what the difference between the two games are, or if it's just a reskin of it all, but I'm definitely going to find out as soon as I get it played. So this next game I can't really tell you too much about because I haven't played it and I really haven't even opened the box. And that is Charterstone. Now Charterstone is a legacy-based game, just like Pandemic Legacy. And I managed to play Pandemic Legacy, but it didn't really interest me too much because it was a cooperative game. And I like some cooperative games, but I don't know, I'm not a big fan of co-op, so I'm really looking forward to Charterstone because it's a competitive legacy game. And also it's a worker placement type of game too. So I really like those type of competitive worker placement and now being applied to a legacy universe. So I'm really looking forward to the development of this game and seeing where it goes and how it's played. I have been avoiding spoilers all over the internet, so I just really don't know too much about this game besides it being a legacy competitive worker placement. So this next game was gifted to me by Cosmos, and that is A Column of Fire. It is based on a book by Ken Follett. Ken Follett also wrote Pillars of the Earth. I haven't played A Column of Fire, so I'm still interested in trying it out. The base game is about Catholics versus Protestants, and it plays in that setting in England during, I think, the 14th century. So it's a game where you have that theme set for the game, and it might deter a lot of people from playing it, but I'm interested in how the mechanisms work and the dice and how they're applied to certain characters and how you rolling the dice and that value is going to tell you how long that character gets to play their action out. So I thought the timing system in this game was really interesting, and I'm looking forward to trying this game out. So this next game I acquired it at a flea market held in Berkeley at Victory Point Cafe. Now Victory Point Cafe is a board game cafe where you can rent out board games, you can have some treats and have fun there. And what they do is every once in a while they have these events where you can sell your board games. And I sold a few there, and I also acquired a few there. This next one is one of the few that I acquired. And this is Louis XIV. Now, Louis XIV is a Rudiger Dorn game, and that's the main reason I purchased this game, is because I've heard of the designer name. I've enjoyed his games, and also it was a game that I've kind of heard here and there, and I know there's a remake of it, but I just couldn't bypass the price of this game. So I got it. I don't know too much about the gameplay. I know it's an older game. I think it's like 2004, 2005, so it's got its years on it, but I'm really looking forward to trying it out and see how it's held up through time. So this next game I also acquired at the flea market, and I actually swapped it out for another game I was trying to sell, and this is Key to the City, London. Now this is part of the Key series games like Keyflower, and this game kind of works the same way that Keyflower does, however it's placed in the settings of London. I haven't played it yet, but I have played Keyflower and I really enjoy that game because of the bidding system, because you're using your meeples as bidding tokens and you're trying to outbid to acquire these different places. So the same thing I believe is applied to this game. However, there's also like rivers or canals that you're building onto these different lands too. So it seems like there's a few more different mechanisms kind of involved in the game, but there's also the location where it's based. You're pretty much building the city of London. So it has all these historical notes and such with these different buildings, and it has a history book too in there, so you can kind of look and see what the game is about and when these buildings were developed and that time period too. So I really am looking forward to trying it out. I like Keyflower, so I'm looking forward to trying Key to the City London. So the next couple of games are games that I actually did manage to get to the table, so I'll go over them a little bit more in detail. And the first one I'll cover is The Game. Now, I already have The Game, but the cool thing about this is that Beth Sobel, she actually made her artwork and she reskinned it onto the game. So this is a game that I have really enjoyed. It's a card-based game where you're working with a whole bunch of people. It's a co-op, which I'm not too much fan of a co-op. However, it's a card game where you're trying to play your cards out and you are trying not to exactly tell people what you have in your hand, but what you're trying to do as a group is discard all your cards into these different piles, which are either ascending or descending in order. And you have 100 cards to play out, about 100 of them. I think it's like 98 cards to play out. And it's a really fun game. However, now I have it with Beth Sobel's artwork. So I thought that was really cool and really nice of her. So if you're listening, Beth Sobel, thank you so much. So not only did she gift me The Game with her artwork, but she also gifted me Bohnanza with her artwork. So now she also designed Herbaceous, which is this card game that I really enjoyed this past year. And it has her artwork of these different types of herbs and spices. So now she re-implemented Bohnanza, and instead of it being a bean game, it's actually an herb game. So you're planting these different herbs and such, but it's the same game of Bohnanza. So again, another thank you to Beth Sobel for gifting this to me. So this next game is a small card game as well, and it is called Plume, which is only a 2-player game. And the cool thing about this is the fact that it's a game that I got off of drive-through cards, and it also benefits LGBT groups and also patients with AIDS. I thought the benefit of purchasing this game was just positive, so I definitely wanted to give towards that. So what I like about this game is that it has a bird theme to it. So what you're doing is you're trying to collect these different birds, and to do so you have these birds laid out onto the table, and it's your flock. So you try to pick these different birds off of the flock and try to put them into your birdhouse. So I really love the theme of how the mechanisms actually work with the word phrasing in the game. And also it showed to be not just a simple game to play, but also the set collection part was very interesting, because what you're trying to do is balance the different types of birds you're collecting, because you don't want to collect too much of one type because you only score that one type. It's all based on scoring majorities. So you want to balance them all out so you can score as many different types as possible. The game was really fun. As soon as we played it again and again. So it's a quick, easy game to get into, and it's quite lovely. I really like the gameplay of it too. So this next game was gifted to us during Christmas time, and that is Timeline American History. Now, this game, if you're not familiar, is a deck of cards. They're very small, and on one side of the cards you have an event that happened in American history, and on the other side you have the date that it happened. So what you're trying to do is you only get to see the part of the card that says the event. The other side of the card you don't get to see. And what you're doing is you're placing it in the middle where there's a line of cards, and you're trying to figure out when this action or this event actually happened. So you place it into the timeline at certain points, and you hope that it meets that criteria, that it's in between these other two events that have been played. So that is the game of Timeline. It's fairly simple. You're just pretty much playing out history through these cards. but it's a huge deck of cards, so it's not a game where you'll necessarily memorize all the events. You more or less know when or less they did happen. And what I liked about this game is that you can learn a lot from it when things happened in time. So this next game I actually purchased from my friend, and the reason I purchased it was because it has my last name in it. It's got Via in it. My last name is Via, and this game is Via Palletti, and that's the only reason I wanted to purchase this game. I know I'm a little weird, but the reason I wanted to get it is because of my last name. And then to come find out that this game is a dexterity game. And I actually had a lot of fun with it because one thing is we played it during New Year's Eve. And the fun thing about it was that we had a couple of drinks in us already, and it was already like 4 in the morning. So it was super late. We were all tired. We were kind of drunk, and we were playing this game. And yeah, it was a total chaotic mess. So we had a lot of laughs with it, and I'm really happy that I actually got it. But Via Palletti is just all these wooden blocks, and what you're doing is you're all putting these pillars into the middle, and then you're putting this platform on top. And then you work onto the next platform by taking out these pillars from underneath and then placing them on top. And then you continue building up. Well, we didn't necessarily make it above the second level because, yep, too many drinks. But but it was a lot of fun just trying to like pull these pillars out from underneath and placing this platform on top without knocking things down. And I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's just a game that, you know, you can play with children, or you can play when you're with a group of people and have a couple of drinks already in you. So this next game was actually gifted to me, and that is Planet Defenders. It was gifted to me by Renegade Games. And what I really enjoyed about this game off the bat is the artwork. I love the cover art of the game. It's these 3 little robots looking off into the distant space and seeing all these potential planets that they can collect these different resources from. So it's inviting in that sense. It looks like a kid's game, so it looks easy to play. The next thing that I really enjoyed are the actual figures in them, the little miniatures that come along with the game. The quality is just great. The thing about this game is that it's very simple. I found it to be a little too easy for myself and my game group. The thing is, though, that because of that, because of the cuteness of it and because of the gameplay of it, it's something that I probably recommend for new gamers, for someone that is trying to introduce their kids into gaming and teaching them how to manage resources, because that's what this game is all about. It's all about getting these batteries or these different energies and converting them in acquiring different robots or acquiring different abilities, and you score points off of that in the end. So you're collecting these things and trading them off for other things and managing resources. So I think it's a great game to teach people how to manage resources, and it's also very inviting because of the cuteness of it all. So this next game I got from my Secret Santa, and that is Azul. Now, Azul is a game that I absolutely loved at BGG-Con. It was probably my favorite game there. But this game is an abstract game, and it's actually very mean for an abstract game because you have these different factories and you have these tiles on these factories, and what you're doing is you're collecting these tiles, but you have to collect either all the tiles on that factory of a certain type. So then the other ones go into the center. And the cool thing about this game is that you're placing these onto your mat, your player board, but the further along in the game you get, then the less you can acquire because you can't place them anywhere. You have to place them on empty spots on your player board. So it becomes a little bit tougher, and that's where it gets mean. So Azul is a game that I think is a game that should belong in anyone's collection. We managed to play it with our family as well, and they absolutely love it. So that's one key thing why I really like Azul, is because that you can introduce it easily to people, and I haven't received one bad thing or comment about this game. It's such a lovely and well-designed game. and that is Azul. So this next game I acquired from Kickstarter, and that is Wendake. Now Wendake is a game that is from based off of this one tribe in North America during the 7-Year War. Now the 7-Year War is a war that was fought through the colonists, and the Native Americans during that time didn't really have any say-so. They just knew these people were kind of like in their land fighting around them with these weapons and such. So it was a really hard time, and I think the really cool thing about this game is that it didn't go into the 7-Year War directly, but it did it through the perspective of the Native American during that time. So the theme is really inviting. I like the fact that there's like a history book in there where you can look at the theme and see how this tribe managed their resources, lived off of the land, interacted with other tribes during that time in that place. And so I really like the history aspect, the theme of it. But the cool thing too is the fact that the game itself is pretty great. I haven't heard too much about this, but I think the game mechanism involved with the actions that you're selecting is just something I've never seen before. So you have these 3 tiles, and there's 3 rows of them. So there's 9 total tiles, and what you do is you can either pick 3 actions on your turn. You can pick them either going diagonal or vertical or horizontal. So you pick 3 actions, and then the thing is that these tiles are shuffled about, and so they're placed on your board, and then it's always varying. And so you pick your actions, you do your actions, you push the board down, and the bottom 3 are out of the game. You reshuffle them, but you reshuffle them with a new action you acquire. And so you place them back on your board, and now you have another set of actions to play with. It's really well done. I really like the action selection part. It's also area control too on the board. There's some fighting involved, which I'm not really a fan of, those area control fighting games. But because I'm really interested in the set collection aspect, the worker placement action with the action board, you know, picking your actions out, I really like that system that it has. So definitely a game that I haven't heard too much about, but I really enjoy, and that is Wendake. So this next game is a game that I backed on Kickstarter, and when I first saw it, I thought I had to have it because it was so bright, it was so vibrant, it was about dinosaurs, and that is Dinosaur Island. Now, I backed it on Kickstarter, and when I finally got it this past month, I opened the box up and I was laughing out loud the whole time because I just couldn't believe that so much stuff is jam-packed into this box. And one thing is that it weighs like 20 or 30 pounds. It's a heavy thing. Now, the other thing is it's heavy because of the components that are in it. The component quality in this game is through the roof. You get metal coins, and not just regular little metal coins. Like each coin is like the size, I think they're bigger than a quarter, and they're super thick and heavy. Unnecessary, but yet it's really fun to play with them. Another cool thing is that you have actual plastic figures of dinosaurs, different types of dinosaurs. You have these different, this one bag, this felt bag, and it's huge, and you put all your little meeples in there, and then you draw out. So what you're doing in this game though, besides the component quality being outstanding, the game itself was actually a lot of fun. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to build an amusement park of dinosaurs, of course. It's just like Jurassic Park, the board game. However, it being thematic and all, it's also pretty strategic because you're trying to figure out, based on the die rolls, like how to collect DNA. So you're collecting DNA, and then with that DNA, you get to place it into your lab and work and exchange certain DNAs for other different types. You get to put your scientists in different areas, different labs. You get to upgrade your security level in your park. You get to acquire different workers, scientists, or security people, or something else, CEOs and such. So you acquire different characters. And then you build your amusement park by putting these tiles on there, and they could be concession stands, or they could be like roller coasters, or just the dinosaurs themselves, you know. So it's really fun and thematic. And then on top of that, once you build it, here comes all the people, and so all these people come from this bag that you're drawing from, and some of them are good, but some of them are hooligans, and they just don't pay for stuff, and so they kind of suck. And so it's always a press your luck whenever you're reaching into the bag. This game is just so much fun. And to top it all off, if you don't have enough security, your dinosaurs escape and they eat your people, your visitors. So yeah, I mean, there's so much going on with this game. I've had so much fun with it. It's a laugh, it's a riot, and also it's not just a thematic game, but it's also strategic. So definitely a lot of fun to play with. And that is Dinosaur Island. So this next game was gifted to me by my Secret Santa. It was the one game that I told my Secret Santa that I really wanted, and that is Agra. Now, Agra is probably one of the heaviest games that I played this past year. It's heavy in the sense that there's just so many things happening on the board. There's so many options to pick and choose from. And this game is also just beautiful. So the first thing is, this game has this enormous board that it pretty much took up my whole dining room table board. And it's huge. But what I really like about it is that the artwork on it, it's just so beautiful to look at. Yes, there's some pieces and some areas on the board that can be a little bit more functional. They're easier to see, but for the gameplay itself. But I mean, once you learn where things go, then it's fine. You know, when you have this beautiful thing that you can look at. Another thing too is it has this ramp going on of these different like pieces that you keep this track of, and that ramp itself is kind of wobbly. You got to make sure you're careful when you're placing your pieces on it, but it does present like this grandiose type of game on your table. So I really do like it, despite the fact that sometimes your pieces may fall off. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this game is the amount of game in it. You have to plan exactly what you want to do. And the amount of planning in this game is just like, it pretty much broke my head. So every time I play this game, it's a 3 to 4 hour play of it. Now, I've played it with 3 players, and I've played it with 2 players, and I think I prefer it with 3 players, because you have this mechanism involved where it's a worker placement. You place your workers out, and you do the action. But the thing is, you don't get your workers back until they're knocked out from that area. You can also lay them down on the board in order to do a meditation. But then again, you don't get the worker back until someone kicks them out. And if you want to reuse that worker that's on the board that hasn't been kicked off, well, you got to pay money to revive them. And money is their points. So you don't want to lose your points to kind of revive them. So it's a game where not only are you trying to figure out and plan exactly how to produce certain resources in order to sell them to the Akbar, or sell them to these different markets, but also you're trying to put them in areas where you know other people will go to, because they'll kick you off and you acquire that worker back. Now, with a 3-player game, there's a lot more player interaction. So you can place your people out onto the board, and you know someone's going to knock them out because there's 2 other people that can knock them out. The board is huge. So the more people are out there, the more likely your characters are going to be knocked out. Now with a 2-player game, my partner and I, we play the game so differently that we just never really knocked each other out of certain locations. And because the board is so big, you're pretty much doing your own thing. And he was producing a certain type of resource while I was producing a different type, and we weren't really knocking each other out. So it made the game really long, and also it was really difficult to acquire points and we were actually running out of workers to place down. We had to meditate because we had no other worker to place on the board. So the gameplay, I think, is better with more players. Agra is a complex game. If you like heavy games, I definitely recommend it. And I really enjoyed it, but I think I'll enjoy it with more players next time. So the last game I'll talk to you about is this game called Gentes or Hence. It's this game that I absolutely loved. It was probably my favorite game this past month. But this game itself is a not heavy game. I think it's a medium weight game. But it's a board game. But yeah, I think it relies a lot on the cards themselves. So it's a civilization game where you're trying to build up your civilization. You have these different populations that you're trying to grow of these different types of people. And what you're trying to do is you have this balancing act because you have 3 sets of people on one side of the board and another 3 set on the other side of your own player board, and you're trying to push their population to reach or join the other population, have the most amount of people. And so throughout the game you're trying to do a balancing act of having a lot of hunters or more gatherers and different types of characters. The other cool thing about the game is the action selection part. When you pick actions to do from the board, you are picking not only the action to take, but also the time it takes to do that action. The time is a spatial element in this game. So if you're trying to do a big move, it's going to cost you more time. And you can use time either as a single time, or you can use it as a double time. And that's really important in the game because of the time that things take you to do. Well, it's going to interfere into other actions that you can take. So more or less, if you're trying to do a big action, what you're going to end up doing is less actions throughout the game. But if you do a lot of small time actions, then you'll eventually produce more actions throughout the game. Another great thing about the game is the synergy between cards themselves. So you're collecting these different cards which give you different abilities. They give you special characters. They also might make you end up losing characters, or they might end up giving you money, which is important throughout the game too, or let you build. It's a really interesting way that these cards play, because when you play it down in your tableau, then it might interact with the other cards that have been played. And I really like that because you have this synergy and you're trying to collect these different types of cards to give you the most amount of points. That's where you're going to score a lot of points, is the cards themselves. So you have to play the cards very well in order to do well in this game. And you can't just rely on the actions that you're building onto the board, but I found that if you do well in the card play, you're going to do well in the game. So there's just so much to do in this game. I really love it. Gentes is just absolutely one of my favorites this past year. And the cool thing about it is that it plays in a short amount of time. So I think I managed to play a 2-player game under an hour. So it's once you get the game flow and you understand the game, you can play this game very quickly. So check it out if you have a chance, because this game is absolutely great. Well, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want, just let me know in the comments below which games you are most interested in, what you've acquired recently, or what you recommend. So thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.